Houston. I think we don't have a problem. I think we have found the lighting that we have been searching high and low for, and we can get started. Hey guys, my name is Sandra. It's been Sandra since 97, ain't shit changed. Welcome back to my channel. It does feel like a minute since I've been like this. I guess because my last video was on some party list, all gate wise day, and since then I've lived a hell of a life and a heaven of a life. Shit, I'm really trying to change the way I speak. Like a hell of a life. No, my life hasn't only been hell. And today we're obviously here to talk about that because it's my channel and that's what we do here. So get comfortable, get cozy. December energy has fully left my system. I am in the swing of what is the year 2024, and I love that for me. I love that for you. If you're here watching this, nigga, we really made it. Basically today, I feel it necessary to actually let you guys know I feel like Sandy. For the OGs who call me Sandy, not these new niggas who call me Sandra, they'll, I think, be able to identify with what that energy means. I've been Sandra since 1997. It's the name that my mother wrote on my birth certificate, right? But I'm such a person who, if I don't identify with something, I can't embrace it fully. And so I had everybody calling me Sandy because that just felt so natural. I guess the energy of Sandy is one that's really synonymous with Sandra and Sandra, but she's like the median. She's like the calmer, more inward, more calculated version of my being. It's not an alter ego, I think it's just an energy, and today I feel like Sandy. So Sandy's gonna be guiding us through this little topic, through this little chat, and it's gonna be as soft and as gentle as possible. I think that's why I've employed her to chat or you know, handle this specific chat, because it is a sensitive one, and I feel like it's important as usual to share these things so that we feel less alone. So yeah, walk with me, let's go. As the title suggests, today we're going to be talking about, and I have to look at my notes because it's a long title. Okay, yes, there we go. So as the title suggests, today we're going to be talking about I'm so sorry, but that's so funny. That's such YouTube mannerisms in the description box below. As the title suggests, today we're going to be talking about grounding myself as an anxious person and what that looks like. So I'll be basically taking you guys step by step through what anxiety looks like for me, how I deal with it, and how I've learned to incorporate it healthily into my life, because funny as it is, we actually need anxiety in times of stress, in times of fear. There are times where it is appropriate to be anxious, but realizing that I'm generally anxious and not being anxious when it's appropriate has helped me navigate my way through that emotion in a way that just is less taxing on my body, less taxing on my mind. And yeah, we're gonna move through this. Actually, I'm kind of anxious right now, but we're gonna move through this. So before we start playing guessing games about what anxiety is and what it could look like, I think it's very important, like the wordsmith that I am, to define what anxiety is so that we're all on the same page. According to Google, anxiety is a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease about something with an uncertain outcome. Very relatable content. Now, like I said, there are times where anxiety is a necessary emotion to be occupying fully, like when you're in fear or when you're in stress, when you're about to make a big speech, or you know, you want to address something with your parent that's really touchy, or you want to confront a friend about something. That is a necessary time and place to be feeling queasy, maybe a little bit nauseous, but generally every day when you wake up, you just fighting for your life. That's not cool. And that is something that I have gone through and experienced for quite a large chunk of my life, until I was able to identify that, oh, this isn't default setting. This is actually an imbalance. Anxiety like being the most prominent emotion in my life and everything else falling to the wayside. And that's the really scary thing about it. It can feel all consuming and like there is no way out, but I promise that there is. And if you stick with me until the end of this video, I promise I will at least share a couple of things that you can try implement in your life that will help ease your heart, mind, and soul. I am not a medical professional. I am simply giving you the tools and resources that I use as a person to combat my anxiety. So please do not substitute this for medical advice. If you are struggling with anxiety and it is beyond just YouTube suggestions, then seek professional help. I think there are many resources out there that could help you, and my main disclaimer is just that I'm not a doctor, so this is not medical advice. Chapter number 1, I guess, would be how my anxiety presents itself. I know that I'm about to be anxious when my stomach gets really queasy. There'll be butterflies for yonks, but they kind of feel like doom butterflies, not the happy flirty ones that you get like when you like someone. It's kind of just like dun dun dun, something bad is about to happen, it's gonna happen now, and yeah, stay woke. So it usually starts as a feeling in my stomach. My chest does tend to get tight, so that's another indication for me of anxiety brewing. I find myself pretty irritable when I'm anxious, so I'm quite snappy and really short with my answers. When it comes to interacting with others, I can tell via the way it is that I'm being. Anxious Annie is perching herself up on my shoulder, and it's about to not be cute, is what I used to think before I learned how to ground myself. So I'd have those feelings, and I still do, obviously, when anxiety presents itself. I think another thing is I'll start having racing thoughts. Like, my thoughts will not stop. My thoughts will run a mile a minute, baby, and it feels like I can't catch them. But I think the main thing is realizing that doesn't have to be the end. There are ways to soothe yourself and ground yourself, but I think it's very important to identify what it is that we're trying to soothe and ground. So I'd say number 1 is identify how anxiety presents itself in your body. I might shift around a lot in this video because as I record this, I'm actually slightly anxious. And that's another thing I forgot to add, I think, is I get quite fidgety when I'm anxious. Is stillness just doesn't seem like an option. Yeah. My next point would be the root of it all. I've taken the time to understand what the physical symptoms seem like, but now, after experiencing that numerous times, I'm like, okay, what is the actual root cause of this feeling that seems to be taking over my life so much? And without getting into too much detail, when you implement inner child healing and regressive reparenting of yourself, you start to find that a lot of the emotions that you feel, namely anxiety in this case, stem from times in your life where things were uncertain, things were unstable, your parental figures were not your primary source of help in your time of need, and you resorted to having to overthink because who was giving you the answers, you know what I mean? Or you resorted to biting your nails because that was the only sort of control that you had at that time. So it really is about identifying the physical symptoms and how they manifest themselves. And then 2 is finding out the root cause of why this thing is even manifesting in your life in the first place. I then came to the realization that it is my responsibility and my responsibility alone to navigate this feeling healthily and not damage the relationships that I have around me and the relationship I have with myself, because it can breed very destructive thoughts and behavior that are not beneficial for anything or anyone around you, including and namely yourself. So finding the tools and the resources and the guidance was all up to me because I want a better quality of life for myself. You know, I want to stop feeling like this. I want to stop getting inadequate sleep because my mind is racing. I want to stop feeling tired all the time because my jaw is clenched, or like, you know, like it literally just feels like jail. So I realized the jailbreaker was me. Like, I was in the cell, but I also had to break myself out. So after a lot of research, after a lot of Googling, after a lot of talking to my friends, I kept coming across this word, grounding. And it's so funny to say. And like I said, retracing these things and what they mean to you, I understood grounding to be you're not going, like stay home, think about what you've done. And in a sense, grounding is kind of like that. It's sitting, it's pausing, and it's realizing, okay, what's going on? What's the problem? Let's solve the problem. Grounding, also called earthing, is a technique some people use to connect their physical bodies to the Earth's electrical energy. Planet Earth has a negative electrical charge. Some scientists theorize that there is a transfer of free electrons to the human body during grounding. I did not know all that until now. While that might be true, that's just not the definition I was looking for. That's new information to me. I didn't know that it's about intentionally like connecting to the energy of the earth. I find that that's what I do. I just didn't know that it was an actual energy exchange, so that's beautiful. But the definition I was looking for goes something like this. Grounding is a self-soothing skill to use when you're having a bad day or dealing with a lot of stress, overwhelming feelings, and or intense anxiety. Grounding is a technique that helps keep you in the present and helps reorient you to the here and now into reality. What a beautiful thing to know that you have the option to do. And that's the feeling that I got when I heard about grounding. I'm like, wait, I can soothe myself. I can make myself calm. There are things that I can do to ensure that I'm peaceful. Hold up, wait, tell me more. Point number one, going outside. I have a very beautiful garden where I live, and I learned how to ground myself outside there during COVID. I'm sure I'm not the only one whose anxiety was to the sky, to the roof. I found that going outside, and now when I read that definition about charging yourself to the earth and whatnot, so I go outside with no shoes on. I just intentionally sit down and connect myself to the actual ground. So I ground, quite literally I earth. That brings me a sense of calm because the stillness is so necessary. Being outside and doing the 5 things you can see, 5 things you can smell, 2 things you can touch, you know what I mean, helps me find myself in the here and now and not in the future that I'm worrying about or the past that I'm worrying about. Just being outside and smelling the trees and seeing the birds and immersing myself in my environment and not taking these things for granted really helps me be present. Point number 2 is not overloading my senses. I will completely shut down my overactive nature by tuning out my senses. So no headphones, no loud music, no conversations with people if I'm not in a state to have conversations. I just shut down healthily though. When there's so much going on in your ears or so much going on in your eyes, like you're just consuming YouTube, the subject matter of the YouTube video that you're watching to not be anxious might be helpful, but it's not helpful right now, or song after song after song, and the lyrics might be helpful, but they're not helpful right now. So moving away from anything that might stimulate your senses too much is a good way to release yourself from the shackles of anxiety and bring yourself into the present moment. No YouTube, no headphones, no AirPods. I'd even say you can sit in your room naked, it's your space, and just have nothing on you, have nothing tying itself to you in any way. And I promise you, it's that little knowing of there's nothing on me, there's nothing in me, there's nothing with me that will give you some sense of calm, or rather that gives me a sense of calm. Number 3 is my favorite form of release, crying and breathing. A lot of people have a very complicated relationship with crying, and I'm not here to say that you're broken if you don't cry. I'm not here to say that you are a crybaby if you cry a lot. But I find that a lot of what anxiety for me is pent up emotion. It is suppressed thought and the best way that I know how to get it out is to cry. Sometimes the tears aren't readily available, but because that is a method that works for me, I can induce tears, and that is then when headphones are necessary, because I'll listen to songs that evoke rather certain feelings within me, and I'm then prompted to shed a little tear or a big tear, you know what I mean? Going back to understanding the roots of anxiety and everything, I didn't always have a very positive relationship with tears. I used to think, really? And if you know anything about Sandy, she is a cry baby. I will cry, but because now I've investigated my relationship with anxiety and seen that that's not a negative thing, I let it out through crying. I combined this one with breathing. Crying forces me to breathe. I can't cry like this. You can't cry like this. You have to let it all out. It's a really beautiful way to control your breathing. It's a really beautiful way to activate breath that's not calm and pleasant. So the of it all is a beautiful release for me, because once again it just feels like energy out. It's not living here anymore. It's coming out. It's coming out. It's coming out. You feel me? So crying and breathing is number 3 for me. That's number 6, but you get me. Anyway, number 4 is talking to someone that you trust. I've intentionally put this one at number 4 because grounding yourself, I don't know who needs to hear this, or rather I needed to hear it, and I'm so glad I heard it. It starts with you. I think it's very easy to want to escape in the mind of someone else whose mind you might think is not racing, but you don't know that, number 1. Number 2, why I say talk to someone that you trust is there are many times I have been in anxious moods, anxious episodes, and I'm talking to someone, anyone, and they're making it worse. The pressure, it was getting worse. Like, it just wasn't helping me at all. And I realized in order to ground myself, I need to be selective with who it is that I spill my anxious thoughts to. I like to deal with it on my own first, so that if and when I am still at a point where I don't feel satisfied with my answers, I'm able to articulate my mind to this person that I trust in a way that's not as haphazard as my feelings, because just because you're anxious doesn't mean you can go dump your things on other people. Like, yes, your friends are there for you, don't get me wrong, but it's also up to you to be in a state that people are able to help you. Because I'd also find that maybe I am talking to someone that I trust, right? But my thoughts are all over the place, and I'm looking at them for like help, and they can't help me because I actually haven't taken the time to sit with myself and figure out, okay, something, even if it's just one word, one phrase that fully encapsulates how I feel. Then I go to a trusted friend and I'm like, okay, look, show me. No, it's shaking, it's shooting, it's all over the place. Preferably also someone who understands the emotion of anxiety, because the last thing you want to be told is you're overreacting. I'm overreacting, I'm anxious right now, and I need your help. So yeah, a trusted friend. A friend in need is a friend indeed, right? That's how it goes. Yeah. Number 5 is allowing it to pass, allowing it to actually just swim through you, and that takes a lot of discipline in a sense. Allowing it to pass doesn't mean allowing your rampaging thoughts to take over, but it actually just means sitting there and being like, oh, okay, we think this. Is this true? No? Cool. Let it pass. Oh, okay, we think this. Is this true? Yes. Why do we think it's true? Cool. Maybe it's not. Pass. Allowing yourself to actually feel the anxiety and not trying to feel any different is a very good way to ground yourself in your reality and realize that a lot of the things that you're anxious about either aren't true or won't come true. I love to ask myself when I'm anxious or like post-anxiety, I find myself thinking, you know, all those things that we were thinking, did any of them happen? No. And then I'll be able to reference that very thought the next time that I'm feeling anxious and ground myself in the reality that, babe, not everything that you think is true. Just because Liz came up with it doesn't mean that it's true. And then that goes back, once again, to investigating the root of where these things come from. Is this thought even yours? I can't do math. Did you tell yourself that? Or did your teacher tell you that when you were in grade 3 and you held it forever? I'm ugly. Did you tell yourself that? Or did you hear that when you were getting bullied in primary school? Allowing anxiety to pass and becoming familiar with the thoughts it is that you are thinking helps them hold you back less, because then you're actually able to question them and be like, that's actually not tea. I know I'm beautiful. I know I'm capable. I know that I can do this thing. I know that I have multiple options and multiple chances. You actually start combating the negative thoughts with positive ones. I'm never going to make it. Actually, I've achieved a lot and I am going to make it and I'm on my way. I'm never going to be able to bake a cake. Actually, recipes exist on the internet that would guide me step by step on how to bake a cake, so I can. Do you see how you start firing back at your own anxious thoughts? So yeah, basically number 5 is sitting with it and allowing it to be true until it's not. The beautiful thing is that we find what works for us through trial and error. I didn't just hear about grounding and think, okay, cool, anxiety solved. Let's go outside. Let's read a book. Let's, even though those are things that I have found work for me, it took a lot of navigating through the mud to figure out, okay, this actually is making me calm, or when I do this, I'm actually getting more anxious, and finding what works for me, baby. Finding what works for me, and this is what works for me. You can freestyle and try whatever it is that I suggest. So those are the 5 points that I use to help me navigate my emotions and feelings when I am going through an anxious episode. Like I said, I'm a little bit anxious when I record this right now, but I know that by the time it's out, I will have thunk all the thoughts and removed them, because nothing's going to stop me and I can do this. So yeah, just to summarize the 5 points, it was going outside, not overloading my senses, crying and breathing, talking to someone that I trust, and allowing it to pass. There are some bonus things that I do that are quite personal to me, like I said, because I've done this trial and error thing and I've seen what it is that works for me, but I'm going to share them anyway, just in case they could help someone or be an alternative to what it is that I've already suggested. So number 6 would be moving my body. Whether it's going for a swim, stretching in my garden, stretching on my bed, and just shaking it out, whether it's going to the gym, I really find that moving my body grounds me, because breathing has to happen in and out. I can't hold my breath when I take a walk. I can't hold my breath when I'm swimming and being active. So anything that has to do with physical movement, I find, whether it's small or big, can really help relieve the feelings of I have a knot in my stomach or my hands feel tense. There's certain things that your anxious body can't do when it's active, so moving your body. Okay, number 7 is a super personal anxiety hack that I use based on the principles that I believe in. I don't have any religious affiliation. I like philosophers. I like Neville Goddard, Epictetus, reading about the Hermetic principles and Abraham Hicks, those kind of things, the Kabbalion, those kind of things. So spiritual ascension tools, the use of oracle cards, and basically why I use these is because they're such an incredible soundboard and something that I can use immediately to help me get out of my mind. It kind of feels like a devotion. Each one is associated with a crystal, right? Oopsie, it's upside down. And each crystal is associated with a chakra point, and each one speaks to something that you can action or something that you would find helpful to know. So for example, this card is the Ruby card, and it's associated with passion and the root and sacral chakra. What else? Jade, associated with good luck and the heart chakra. These cards come with a little book that pretty much speaks to the principle of each crystal. So for example, the rose quartz. I keep one on me. There's a bunch of rose quartz and lavender, and basically, if you're familiar with the rose quartz symbolizes love, just anything that has to do with matters of the heart, and reading those things sometimes and the prompts that come in the little book that explains what each stone represents helps me. Okay, so number 7 is using any type of spiritual or religious medium that you're comfortable with, that feels like God speaking to you or you speaking to your higher self, connecting with you. Like, get into that if you're into that. Number 8 is my favorite. It's reading a book. Just like with the oracle cards that I presented earlier, I really am intrigued by the occult, by mysticism, by spirituality outside of religion, and these books help me through it. I hate that they're all upside down, and they're actually more of them. They're like a whole series. I don't know if you can see, they all have this like iridescent font in the front, but these books really help me through what my life means beyond just right now. So sometimes grounding can mean, okay, this might be how I feel right now, but what's out there for me in the future? What can I think about that is not tangible but is possible? And books help me feel like that. So yeah, maybe picking up a book and escaping into a different world, even if it's just for 5 minutes, can be a way to relieve the feelings of something bad is gonna happen. Because I promise you, nothing bad is gonna happen, and you're okay and you are safe. Number 8, writing a song. I am a songwriter. I am a vocalist. I will emote through sound, so putting my feelings down on paper in the form of writing a song super helps me. That is in fact the reason why I don't journal. I find it quite hard to journal because when I'm putting pen to paper in that regard, to put my feelings down, it is something that I do as an art form. I can't just sit there and write Dear Diary style. I can't. So for those of you who can, that could be something that could help you, is journaling. For me, my journaling would be songwriting. Number 9 would be, it might contradict what I said earlier, but if you're not in the mood to speak to someone, I find that going onto YouTube or finding Reddit forums with people present that are feeling how you're feeling is a way to realize that you're not alone, and that how you're feeling is very normal, and that there are ways to combat it, hence this video. You might not always feel like addressing how you feel with someone else. It might feel like such a burden and really overwhelming to try and articulate how you feel, and I totally get that. So I will leave a link in the description box down below to a playlist that I've made of videos that just help stop my mind from racing too far and grounding me in the reality that there's so much possible for me that exists outside of this moment or these days or these months of anxiety. Yeah. My number 10 then would be to speak to yourself. Remember that you are in charge of this vessel, that you control it no matter what your mind might be trying to say, because it resides within you, and that can be so conflicting. But I think number 10, y'all, would just be realizing that you are in control. There are ways to not feel like this, and you even trying 1%, 2%, 10%, 100% to try and not feel like this is a beautiful action. It's a necessary action, and it's a domino effect to you eventually feeling like tip top. You know, we're gonna move from this to this, and like I always tell you guys, it's incremental, it's step by step. It is not overnight, but the night that becomes the overnight one comes from all the lessons and the times that you tried to combat it. So yeah, I really hope that this video has been helpful. I really do hope that you like, comment, and subscribe, so that when I drop new content, you're able to see it and be notified. Don't forget to tell a friend. What else? Go stream my new project. What else? Anxiety is not forever. Nothing lasts forever. Positively affirm the things you know to be true about yourself to yourself. Yeah, that would be that. Is remind yourself that you are the ish. You are the ish. Yeah. I want to add one more thing, just on the topic of talking to a friend about it. When you're anxious, please remember that your friends might not be, right? And in trying to help you, how they speak to you matters, but it's not always going to be soft, and you don't always need to hear the soft version. I'm not saying they're going to be mean to you. I obviously trust that you have people around you who are able to give you the proverbial tough love that you need in a way that doesn't feel so tough. And the reason why I say that is because part of why I'm doing this video is, yeah, I feel anxious right now. I didn't actually even know what I was going to come onto my channel and speak about, and I thought, okay, let me just be honest and truthfully just speak about I'm anxious right now, and I'm kind of feeling all over the place, and that's real. And then it also stems from, I had a conversation with one of my friends like 2 weeks ago, and it was really just a casual, like, we were talking as boys, and I don't know where it got to, but we started speaking about something that was kind of tense, and I had all these negative rebuttals, and he was just like, Sandra, sorry to burst your little negative bubble, but I actually don't think like that. I actually have a way it is that I see my life going, and it's actually super positive, and it's not riddled with fear. And I was like, that is mad sobering, but thank you so much for sharing that with me, because it actually makes you realize how much in your head you live in when your negativity is just on cycle. So I'm so glad that he shared it with me in that way, because it really made me think, okay, girl, what is the quality of our thoughts? Like, how is it that someone else is sounding the alarm on the, like, compounding negativity in our head, and we can't even see it? So yeah, I think just a note is, when you're talking to your friends, right, about this thing, or when they see you peak, you being anxious, allow them to lovingly call you out, because sometimes that's the difference between you continuing down that path of an ugly what versus you actually clocking, okay, no, it's time to change my thoughts. And it's incremental, okay, baby steps. You are but a baby, and I love you. So see you in my next video. Don't forget to breathe, and we're all in this together. Love you, bye. Oh, crazy. Trust me to remember something post the fact, like I'm already done recording, but I didn't want to leave this one out. It's an activity that really just helps me take my mind off of anything. I have to take my mind off of whatever's racing it, because it requires so much focus, and it is knitting. Yeah, it's knitting. I'm not making anything in particular, truly. I'm literally just doing what I gotta do, like, to get my mind off of whatever it is that could be plaguing it. And yeah, knitting is a really good way to do that. So I think, just in essence, why I'm adding this is to show you that it can be anything that you use to ground yourself. There's no right or wrong. There's only productive and destructive. So it's just up to you to figure out what it is that you're using as a tool to curb this feeling and to get yourself feeling good. So yeah, for real this time, goodbye.